That's a done deal.
Yes.
It's going to be with a good channel. We mentioned before, Jericho made mention of the fact that it's not going to be on channel, 734, the motocross channel or the motorbike channel or
Yeah,
whatever.
the motorbike channel. That's hysterical.
They're going to do a real TV channel, and dude, when that happens, if they have and throughout the show, Tony Khan stressed time and time again production value, production value, production value.
Mm-hmm.
On and on he went about
Mm-hmm.
it. Like you said, Jericho talked about the people that he has in place already, the infrastructure, people that Jericho has already worked with, great names in the business, not names that you and I would know.
Right.
Because those
right.
guys are the guys behind the scenes, whether it be the production people, the bookers, whatever. They're all there. That infrastructure is set. And dude, here's the thing that you hear a lot of the people out there, the naysayers, saying, "Oh, it's going to fail just like TNA did. Dixie Carter thought this and that, and she brought in Hogan." Listen. They don't have that situation here.
Mm-hmm.
They saw how that went, and they purposefully did not replicate that. This is not Dixie Carter. They are not going out to get Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff and those guys on purpose. They're looking for specific people. They went into the fact that AEW is not looking for names from other organizations. Fresh. They kept saying, Cody Rhodes keeps using the word fresh. Fresh is the goal.
Mm-hmm.
They want to stay ahead of the wave rather than going back. And that was the problem with WCW and TNA to an extent, wasn't it?
Yeah. Especially WCW, I would say, because, I mean, TNA had a foundation in place, and then they added to that foundation, which I think was smart. They added some draws. But WCW, as soon as somebody would come, and we saw it with the NWO, as soon as somebody would come up, they would show up on Nitro. And I would say, all due respect to Rick Rude and everybody who loves him and imitates him in openings on YouTube videos, no offense to Rick Rude because he is one of the greats, but at the time that Nitro grabbed him, they did it for the specific reason to have him on their show live while he was taped on Raw simultaneously. That is the only reason that they did that. And they threw money at him. At that stage in his career, did anybody really think that he was going to be challenging Hulk Hogan or, Goldberg? No. They just did it to do it. And that's an important aspect, I think, of AEW. They're not just grabbing guys to grab guys. And also, in respect to the other companies, if a guy like Dean Ambrose comes up or, and maybe AEW doesn't want to sign him, then his logical next choice would be to go to Ring of Honor. That's going to help the other companies as well. Because, I mean, look, they're talking about, you got MJF, he's 23 years old. You got Jungle Boy, who's a young guy. If they're going to be, okay, MJF has that locked down. He's the young heel that could talk on the mic. He's got the clean-cut image. He thinks he's the best. They're not going to sign every other guy out there on the indie circuit or that leave WWE that is going to be a similar character because he said he's not going to do that. MJF has that slot on the roster locked down, and that's good because when, I don't know, The Miz comes up, maybe The Miz goes to Ring of Honor if he wants to someday. You know what I mean? So that's kind of cool, too, for the other companies.
What he said is, we're not going to sign every single talented person. You can't. Everyone who comes here has to bring something different and additive. We learned from the WCW woes. Why sign everyone when you can't use everyone?
Mm-hmm.
And then he said, we have to be discerning. And this was a key phrase that he
Wait, can
he
you
kept
pause there?
saying.
Can you pause there for a minute?
Yeah.
Do you know who is having that problem right now? What he just said?
The WWE?
Yes. Take a look at NXT. Captain of Swag on one of the shows in the past 2 weeks said the entire NXT roster, not the entire NXT, the NXT roster has the entire ROH roster minus Lethal and the Briscoes. From 5 years ago? Minus Dalton Castle. I know. He was making the point that they grabbed everybody. And just throw them down in NXT. Just throw them down. Who cares? We'll just pillage ROH right now. That was the plan a few years ago, and they executed it to perfection. So you have a guy like Adam Cole down in NXT. Who knows when he's going to sniff the main roster? Who knows when Ricochet's going to come up? Because once they do come up, you have guys sitting on the bench like Ty Dillinger or Rusev. They're just trying to get a spot. That's proof of what Tony Khan is saying. The WWE has turned into WCW with that, in that regard, because they're just signing guys so nobody else can sign them.
So that key phrase, be discerning. And then he backs it up with this, so that we can have a sustainable business. Another key phrase. Dude, those two aspects of it are going to help this company invaluably. If they can be discerning, so that they can stay a sustainable business, not just sign everybody who becomes available. He goes on to say, because you can only focus on and push so many people. They talk about the possibility of a 2-hour show. They actually mention that. How many people can you push in a 2-hour show? Jericho says, honestly, I think it's about 10 people. So why go out and sign everybody in the world, like you're just saying the WWE does, when you really don't have time to do that? I mean, we've seen different guys that, we think we're going to see and they're going to get a push, and it doesn't happen. We're seeing in a pay-per-view that's coming up Sunday that for the most part is a SmackDown pay-per-view, I think. I'm not even sure about that anymore. But on that pay-per-view, there's no women's title defense. R-Truth is not defending the title. In fact, has R-Truth been on the show since he won that belt?
Nope.
I mean, has he done anything?
Nope.
Where is R-Truth?
Where is Asuka?
Where is Asuka? Has Asuka been on the show since she tapped out Becky Lynch? Or, and again, I'm not trying to be negative. I want WWE to get better. I want them to learn from their mistakes and get better. Or do they think if they leave her off the show that we'll forget that Becky tapped?
I think that's the hope.
Do they think we're that dumb?
Yes, I do. I do. And to Jericho's point there too, if you and I are sitting down, let's just do this. Let's do this exercise. Tony Khan hires us. We're the head bookers. We have the yellow tablet, and he says, go to town, do your thing. We have a 2-hour show. And we talk to Jericho, and he says the same thing. You only need about 10 guys. He also said, because I'm thinking in my head, I could work with this guy for 3 months, I can work with this guy for 3 months, and then I can go over this guy. That's how you should be thinking. You don't need to double that roster. If they're going to have 2 hours of TV per week and maybe a 3-hour pay-per-view per month, we don't know that yet, but let's just go with that. It sounds to me like they are going to do some long-form storytelling, and if we write down the names, you and I are going to do this, okay? We go in, we write down the roster names. Okay, Jericho, what's the plan for the year? Okay, first it's going to be Omega. Maybe we do three matches for the first 3 months. Big blow-off matches. After that, where are we going? We're in month 4 now already. We're going down to Hangman Page because he said he wants to work with Hangman. That's another 2 months. That's 5 months. Do we want to hook him up with Cody for the rest of the year? Sure, let's do that. He's done for the year. Yeah. It's that simple. So I don't think you need the 40 guys on a roster. Go ahead.
When you think about it, back in the day where Pat Patterson had the yellow tablet, the legal pad, that was all there. And barring an injury or something going south that was absolutely unexpected, a wrestler could go to Pat Patterson and ask him, where am I going to be 8 months from now? And Pat Patterson could tell him. Mm-hmm. This is what you're going to be doing 8 months from now.
Yeah, a lot of those guys on record said Vince used to be like that too. You can go in and say, hey, Vince, where do you got me in 8 months? He would just flip to 8 months. That's how you tell a story.
Bro, you and I recently had a conversation about that story with Dean Ambrose taking on Nia Jax at an arena, and they leaked that, this was going to be a match at the arena and all this stuff. And then, you're reading this stuff where, it might have been true or not true, the story, because they don't really know where they're going to be, 2 or 3 months ahead of time. Are you kidding me? They don't know where they're going to be 2 or 3 months ahead of time. They should know where they're going to be a year ahead of time.
Yeah, and let's do this too, because there may be a lot of younger fans listening to us right now thinking, what the hell are they talking about? Listen, it's as simple as this, because there's got to be an age limit on even realizing that this takes place in wrestling. There really has to. I'm sure a 14-year-old that's into wrestling probably has no idea that it used to be like that.
Right.
Like the prime example would be like, okay, there's 6, 8 Harry Potter books, whatever, and they're doing the movies. Like, if you're the actor that's the redhead wizard, whatever his name was, Harry's buddy, he could go to the producer in charge or the director in charge and say, hey, where am I in book 6? What is my character doing in book 6? They can open the book and open the script and go to book 6, movie 6, and tell Ron. They could tell Ron what his character is actually doing because it's written. That's the way pro wrestling used to work. But now everything is just hot-shotted now. And you could tell by watching things on WWE, Impact, whatever, that don't make sense. The reason that they don't make sense is because it hasn't been planned out and written. That's the difference.
Absolutely. So what did you think about the fact that he talked about that he had to pitch his business plan to his dad? He actually put down the plan, pitched it to his dad. His dad liked the business plan. And, dude, very encouraging to me. Here's a guy who's a multi-billionaire. He liked the business plan to the point where he thought and thinks that it can make money and that it's a good business investment. Mm-hmm. That's important.
Well, he was very adamant at saying, the timing. To me, that's something that was probably ingrained in him, and I got to think it came from Dad. Timing. And I think if he sold his dad on, here's the landscape of this business that I want to get into, he definitely saw something. Maybe I'm sure in their business plan, if he's hard selling his dad, he's got to sell him on the fact that, okay, well, how are you going to push this product? Okay, live TV. Okay, live pro wrestling. What's that looking like these days? Well, Vince McMahon just sold a show for $1 billion to Fox. Really?
That's right.
Really? When did this happen? Oh, a couple months ago. Really? Timing. Mm-hmm. Dude, I think that was probably the conversation that was had that probably made that guy go, okay, kid, let's see what else you got. I'm in. What's your take on that?
Well, I think you're right. And he did mention that this is a great time with, the media aspect of it. Live sports on TV. I'm sure that played into it. Mm-hmm. When you see that the WWE is able to do that, why wouldn't you try to do that? I am still in shock at the fact that ROH is operating the way they are, because
I know.
From everything I hear, they have the money to do more.
Right.
But it's like they're holding themselves back and not doing more. And you can see it now, as we just talked about, the Captain of Swag had a show where he talks about the fact that NXT right now is the ROH roster. ROH had all those guys.
Yes.
And could have been that big had they made that investment and put that money forward and kept those guys. What they're thinking is, I have no idea.
I think I don't
know why they.
That's been their story for years, though. I mean, go back to the CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Samoa Joe era. That whole, it's like they've accepted the fact that they are the minor league. They're the number one minor league company. Why on earth? Like, how many guys do you need to push through your company and then have them disappear before you realize, hey, if we opened up the pocketbooks, we could be that company. That's the sad thing about ROH that kills me. It really does.
ROH, and they had, at one time, they had a buzz. Now, I don't know that the buzz was quite where this buzz is for AEW right now, because I don't remember. I'm trying to remember, when was the last time there was a buzz like this about a professional wrestling product. Mm-hmm. I'm sure it's been a while back. But ROH did have a pretty significant buzz at one time. They had a lot of talk about them. And actually, if you look at it on a graph like a stock, the ebbs and the flows, I think ROH right now, they're on a down spiral.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
And with all the talent that they had, there's no reason for that.
Big time. Yeah, I think they've had multiple buzzes because they've had, every few years they have this awesome pocket of talent. If you look at the landscape, Austin Aries, the guys I said before, Tyler Black, he's fighting Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. You had that guy, ROH. You had him. Look at the guys.
Yeah.
Christopher Daniels is now head of talent relations for another company. You had him.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
He could be helping them in that aspect as well.
If they would have opened the pocketbooks 10, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 years ago, they could be in this position.
Yeah, and even as early as a year or two ago, when all these guys left for NXT, and it was an exodus.
Yeah.
There was an exodus from ROH to NXT. They lost their company to NXT. Dude, they had the money to prevent that. Mm-hmm. But for whatever the reason, they decided not to do that.
Yes.
They have the money to put more into infrastructure and production. But for whatever the reason, they don't do that.
Yes.
They have the money, even if they did it in smaller buildings and stayed to the Northeast, they probably have the money to do live shows much, much more often, if not every week, much, much more often than they do now. But for whatever the reason, they decided not to do that.
Yep. It's befuddling.
Tony Khan goes on to say all these things come together in the same place with a great promotion, taking the stars seriously and the fans seriously, and treating the product, and this is through the interview many times, as a legitimate sports property.
Yes.
Bro, I love to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
I even read an article today. Again, they're going to do the weigh-in over at the Undertaker event a couple of days before the big show. I can't remember what that event is called. It's the Undertaker event.
It's just the Undertaker event, yes.
So that's what it's become over the last 24 hours. Dude, and there are people, again, naysayers, haters, whatever, on the internet. They're killing the idea of a weigh-in. Dude, if you're going to try to make, if you're going to try to get a little bit of that kayfabe back
mm-hmm.
and make it look like a legitimate sports, show, property, as Tony Khan called it. Look, maybe you think wrestling and kayfabe are too far gone. But, dude, from what I'm hearing, that's exactly what Fox is demanding of SmackDown.
Right.
From the WWE. And it seems like there is some pushback from the WWE that they're not really on board with that. And I wonder if push comes to shove, what's going to happen to that deal? Because it seems like Fox wants that too.
Yeah. That's the thing about New Japan. They don't have a ranking system like the UFC, but New Japan, their kayfabe is that it is a sport. Now, we know better than that, but that's their kayfabe. So,
but there's times you're watching that and you're not so sure about that.
Well, that's true. That's true. But that's where they blur that line. So if you're looking at, and I mean, this is another thing, what I said earlier about we can compare bookings, to these shows. That's what we used to do back in the day, Raw versus Nitro, what was better, what made sense. The fact that, and we've said it countless times through the years, no matter who was on, who we knew, we would always bring up the fact, how is AJ Styles losing the match but getting a rematch the next week? Mm-hmm. That's, it could be as simple as that. It could be a ranking system like the UFC or MMA. It might not be. But the fact that Tony Khan is saying that wins and losses are going to matter in the booking doesn't have to be a ranking system, but I guarantee you if Adam Page loses to the champ, he's not going to get a rematch in 28 days. And that's what we always complain about. So if they can fix that, and I can see a show that doesn't do that, I would be very happy.
I actually have his words on that. Listen to what he says.
Okay.
Treating wins and losses as everything. Winning should make your day, make your week, make your year, and losing should break your heart. Championship contention, wins and losses will be a key factor, and people, talking about the boys and the girls and fans, are going to care about who wins and who loses. And he said this, not just doing it to be different, but because this is what I believe in.